This is a channeling from Adama on the awakening and embodiment of Ka and Kundalini. Now, first, I would like to begin by giving a brief explanation of Ka and Kundalini and the difference between the two of them. Now, we have covered this in depth in previous channelings, and for more in-depth information on these two terms, please refer to those channelings. However, I will provide a brief refresher course now. So, Ka is the energetic presence of our physical body, and it has a separate consciousness from the consciousness of one's higher self. Now, the Kundalini energy is the energetic presence in the physical body of the higher self. So one's Ka corresponds to the physical body, and one's Kundalini corresponds to their Ba and their higher self. Now, a brief explanation on the difference between awakening and embodiment. Now, one may awaken their Kundalini and Ka energies, yet not have full or any control over them, and they may not be present or available to one at all times if they are merely awakened and not embodied. When one embodies their Kundalini and their Ka, then they may have full access or completed access to both their lower and their higher faculties. And their Kundalini and Ka will work seamlessly as one, and there will be less perceived separation between the two of them. Now, there are many ways in which one may awaken their Kundalini. And I start with Kundalini, for this is out of the two subjects we are covering tonight, this is the one that the channel is most familiar with. So it will, in a sense, warm her up for the more difficult topic of the Ka later in the channeling. However, one may awaken their Kundalini in many fashions, and one of which is very well known and commonly misused, and that is Kundalini Yoga. Now, there are many teachers and practitioners of Kundalini Yoga present on the earth at this moment. However, almost none of them, or a very small percentage of them, are aware of the full nature of the workings of Kundalini Yoga, and only slightly more of them are aware of the true workings and mechanics of Kundalini energy, for there is much information on both Kundalini and Kundalini Yoga. Now, when practiced correctly, Kundalini Yoga may allow for one to enhance their awareness of their Kundalini, and after their awareness has been enhanced to the point that they may feel their Kundalini energy fully present in their sacral chakra, then they may use the movements of Kundalini Yoga to aid in the process of bringing their Kundalini energy up their spine and to their crown chakra, and through it to the higher realms. However, if one is solely using Kundalini Yoga as their method of awakening their Kundalini energy, this may take years for it to occur, for you are purely relying on movements of the physical body when your intention and mental manipulation of this energy is a much more efficient way to do so, even if it is a bit more difficult at the beginning. That being said, though, another way in which one may awaken their Kundalini energy is by meditation. So one may use guided meditations that on the various social media platforms that allow or that guide one in bringing their Kundalini energy from their sacral chakra up their spine to their crown and through it to the heavens. However, one may also do this by simply visualizing a snake coiled at the base of their spine. And at the initiation of the awakening and movement of the Kundalini energy up the spine, you may start by imagining the coiled snake begins moving and wriggling and perhaps circling itself. And once the snake begins moving enough that it may break its coiled pattern, then it may begin moving in a figure 8 in the sacrum area of your body, which for those who are not aware is just inside of your pelvis. However, once the snake is fully moving in this figure 8 pattern, it then may begin its ascent up the spine to the crown chakra, and you may imagine it winding around each individual chakra as it passes and bestowing some of its energy on each of these chakras, and as this channel says, lights them up as it goes on. However, this is just another way of saying that it adds energy to the chakras, for energy and light are synonymous. But once the snake reaches the crown chakra, you may imagine it opening its mouth and sticking its tiny little forked tongue out of the crown chakra, and from the forked tongue extends a laser, if you will, or a very small concentrated column of pure energy and light that is the Kundalini energy through the crown chakra. Now, for those of you who are curious as to whether or not this will just disperse the Kundalini energy into the ether and allow you to keep any of it, I assure you that that is not the case. For although it may feel like you are sending your Kundalini energy out into the nothingness, that is not so. Indeed, what is happening is you are sending your Kundalini energy into your higher chakras, and your higher chakras in turn will send energy down into your physical body, whether you are aware of it or not. And indeed, some may perceive this as a column of white or blue light extending down their spine from their crown to where the snake rests at the base of the spine. Now, I have said this in a previous channeling as well, but I'd like to note it here. That the snake in this metaphor is merely that, a metaphor. It is not truly a snake inside of you. However, a snake is the best way to describe the movement of this energy, and it allows for one to have a sort of bridge in their consciousness between what is happening in their energetic body, which they might not be as familiar with, and what is happening in their mentality. However, once one is fully comfortable with the snake metaphor, then they may remove the snake and purely feel this energy moving around, and it may feel a bit different and a bit more free. And although it may feel unfamiliar at first, I assure you that this will allow for further awakening of the Kundalini. Now, as for embodiment of the Kundalini energy, this is known as a Kundalini Rising. And when this happens, one's Kundalini energy permanently rises from their sacral chakra to their crown chakra and stays there, unless some sort of trauma forces it to recede down the spine. However, this is indeed very rare for most of those who, or almost all of those who have achieved a Kundalini rising, have fully processed all of their trauma and released all of their karma from not only this lifetime, but also previous lifetimes. However, I would like it noted that one must only process their trauma from this lifetime. However, they must process their karma from all lifetimes before their Kundalini rising may be complete. For until one has rid themselves of these earthly attachments in this way, their Kundalini energy may not flow freely enough through their energy body to reach their crown chakra and stay there for prolonged periods of time. In addition, one who has not fully processed all of their trauma and cleared their karma may experience some negative emotional or mental backlash, whether it is conscious or not, because there is a part of themselves that may be subconsciously fighting this occurrence because that part of themselves knows that they are not fully ready for it. But that being said, after one has fully processed all of their trauma and released their karma, their Kundalini rising may not occur spontaneously, and they may have to work with guides or with their higher self, or perhaps even source directly to achieve this. And for some incarnated on Earth at this moment, this will be impossible. And that is not a bad thing. It is merely a fact, because for those people that this will not be possible for, those are the people who have a significant amount of masculine energy, or perhaps do not have a significant amount of feminine energy. For indeed, the Kundalini energy is divinely feminine, and it is purely divinely feminine, unlike the Ka. But we will get to that later. But that being said, if one's higher self, if their soul is not divinely feminine or does not have enough divine feminine energy to properly fuel this Kundalini rising, they may be stuck in the Kundalini awakening stage. However, they may still receive most of the benefits of a Kundalini rising from being in this state. It may just take a bit more concentration and will and intention. But as said in previous channelings, Kundalini energy allows one to awaken and utilize and become conscious of their higher faculties. And for more information on the higher faculties, one may listen to the channeling previously done titled The Higher Faculties and the Lower Faculties. But I would like to speak briefly on how one may use their Kundalini energy in this endeavor of awakening and utilizing their higher faculties. For one may indeed utilize their higher faculties without use of their Kundalini. However, the use of Kundalini may indeed much facilitate this endeavor. For the Kundalini energy is indeed the power source of our higher faculties. So if one has completed the Kundalini rising, they must not worry about rising their Kundalini energy. However, if one has only awakened their Kundalini energy, or if that is all that one may accomplish in this lifetime, then they must first rise their Kundalini energy to their crown chakra. And again, one may practice this in small increments at first and work their way up to larger increments of time to increase their endurance. And a brief moment, or a brief sidetrack, because I forgot to mention this earlier, and the channel has just reminded me, that one possible negative symptom of a Kundalini awakening is Kundalini psychosis, as it is sometimes called, and this is the awakening of the Kundalini energy without the presence and awareness of the lower faculties. So when one awakens their higher faculties, if they do not have the lower faculties to properly ground themselves, this may be a recipe for disaster, as you say, for one may lose their sense of self, or they may stray too far from their body, or they may lack the boundaries to properly control their abilities and turn them off when they become overstimulated. However, now that digression, there's a little bit more before we are done with that. If this occurs to you, then you must first cease all practice of Kundalini energy immediately, for this is a surefire sign that you are not quite ready for it yet. And if this happens to you, you may then follow the following or the instructions that will come later about embodying and awakening one's Ka. For after you have awakened your Ka and embodied it, then you may go back to these Kundalini practices, and you may find yourself much more grounded and secure in your sense of self, and perhaps even more aware of the Kundalini energy and its happenings in the body. But that being said, the Kundalini energy allows one to connect to their higher faculties, because their higher faculties derive from the higher self, which is why they are called the higher self or the higher faculties. And the Kundalini energy, as I have said, is the bridge between the higher self and the physical form. So in using your Kundalini energy, you may enhance the bridge between the higher self and the physical form. And the physical form is where the higher faculties are stored, for they do indeed correspond to energetic organs that your current doctors have not yet discovered. And one of these is indeed the spiritual double of the pineal gland. But I digress. So in rising one's Kundalini, this will strengthen these bonds inherently. However, one may, through will, strengthen their Kundalini energy's presence in their body, and therefore temporarily strengthen this bridge as well. And one may do this by first graduating, if you will, from the metaphor of the snake to just visualizing pure light following that same pathway. And once one is able to easily visualize this light and still feel the sensation of the Kundalini energy rising, then they may begin to visualize this light brightening. And once it becomes so bright that it can no longer stay contained in the small snake-sized form that it was in, then it may begin to expand and encompass your entire body. And once it has begun to expand and encompass your entire body, then it may begin to expand and encompass your entire energy field from your aura to your causal body. Now, again, it is recommended to start this practice in small increments for short periods of time. So, for example, 5 minutes of meditation where you focus on just brightening the light. And then in a week, perhaps you go to 10 minutes of meditation, and first you brighten the light for 5 minutes, and then you grow the light for 5 minutes. And perhaps it only grows a couple inches. But again, this is a slow and steady race here, so you need not worry about not reaching the destination immediately, for it will come in its own due time when it is meant to come. Now, that being said, you may also visualize your Kundalini energy making that exchange with your higher chakras that are outside of your body, and you may imagine that this energy that flows back into you feeds your energy body, and you may use those two tactics in combination to provide the most efficient way of charging your Kundalini. But that is... Now, one may indeed reach a point where their Kundalini energy is permanently embodied in their entire physical body. However, this may take many years of practice and may be almost impossible with the current way that society is running, for indeed your current society is a very masculine society, and it is difficult for the divine feminine, which is the Kundalini, or which the Kundalini is a part of, to live in such an uninhibited and free-flowing way as it would when one's full body is full of this Kundalini energy, when it is constantly being stressed and pressured in the way that modern day society does. But that being said, if one finds the proper significant other that allows them to embody their feminine, they may find that they allow their divine feminine to embody their full physical form more often than they would if they were simply by themselves. And no, I do not say this to make anybody feel lonely. I say it as a matter of fact, for it is true, and divine union is a very sacred phenomenon, and it is also very tied into the Kundalini. Now, this channel has learned a bit of the sex magic of Isis from the Magdalene manuscript, and it is recommended for anybody who finds this channeling to be intriguing to go seek out this manuscript, for indeed it contains quite a prolific well of information regarding Ka and the physical embodiment of the energy body. But in this sex magic of Isis, she has only yet learned how one may use their Ka to perform these magics, if you will. And for those who are not aware, magic is a term used to describe the use of energy and energy manipulation towards the path of enlightenment. And indeed, this is a very broad term. And no, the channel has asked a question, and the answer is no, one may not call the use of dark energy and the manipulation of, or perhaps not dark energy, the use and manipulation of energy in a negative way, magic, for that is not on the path of enlightenment, and that is a core principle of the definition of magic. But that being said, one may use their Kundalini in sex magic as well, for one may charge their Kundalini energy by their partner bestowing upon them some of their masculine energy. And indeed, one must have consent for this. Now, it may not always necessarily need to be verbal consent, and indeed, energetic consent or telepathic consent will suffice. And usually it is understood and a given that if you are having sexual intercourse with somebody, then it is most likely that this form of energetic consent is already given. But in that, one may visualize their Kundalini energy as being propelled to their crown chakra by their partner's energy entering their body through the sacral chakra. And indeed, then one may visualize the energy that is coming out of their crown chakra from their Kundalini energy going back into the crown chakra of the masculine partner. And this is indeed a core principle of Tantra. However, it is not always spoken of in these terms. Now, the channel would like it noted that she knows literally nothing about Tantra. But indeed, my knowledge of Tantra is much more vast than hers. So I can assure you that even if one does not find this information in modern-day books, this was once a core principle of Tantra in its most pure form before the ego of man managed to bastardize those teachings, just as the ego of man has bastardized the teachings of Yeshua and many other spiritual teachers over the ages. But thus is the nature of humanity at the moment, and we may only hope and pray that it continues to change. However, I digress. When one allows this full energy exchange to occur with their partner, this is indeed when one may find that they feel that they have exited their body. And when one uses this technique in tandem with the sex magic of Isis, then they may fully experience true intimacy on every single physical or every single form possible, as long as they are truly emotionally intimate with their partner as well. For this is the deepest form of energetic intimacy on both the level of the Ka and the Ba. For the Kundalini energy meshing with the other's energy in this way is the meshing of the Ba, and the use of the Four Serpents technique from the Magdalene manuscript is the merging of these energies of the Ka. And of course, the intercourse is the merging of the physical body, and the romantic love shared between the two partners is the merging of the emotional body. Now, if one uses these techniques with intention, one may perform a form of immaculate conception. Now, it will not be immaculate in that the egg will not be fertilized by a sperm. However, it will be immaculate and divine. Yes, perhaps divine conception is a better word for this. We will call it divine conception, because indeed this will allow for one to bring in the highest vibrational soul into the womb of the feminine and allow that energy to fully embody in that egg. And this is a portion of how Yeshua was conceived. He was conceived using tactics from these same schools of thought. However, they were not all of these tactics combined. But Mary and Joseph's use of sex magic allowed for them to bring in the extremely high vibrational being that was Yeshua. And indeed, so did the parents of Mary Magdalene. For her mother was the one who sparked her interest and her devotion to the goddess. Now, that being said, if one uses these techniques properly, they may also learn how to use them as contraception, because when one uses both of these techniques combined, so the Four Serpents technique and the combining of Kundalini energy, then one may either choose to, upon orgasm, upon completion, they may choose to allow this energy generated to go into the womb and aid in the soul's path to embodiment, or they may digest this energy, if you will. The two partners may use this energy to fuel their Ka and their Kundalini energies, their Ka and their Ba. And this will strengthen their Merkaba field. And this is where the sex magic comes into play. For when one strengthens their Merkaba field in this way, they may increase their access and increase their abilities to use and manipulate their higher and lower faculties. And if you sometimes find that you have more or less access to your higher and lower faculties some days or others, then you may indeed try charging these faculties to see if that aids in your access. But that being said, that is all we have to say about Kundalini energy. And now we will move on to Ka. Now, Ka energy, as I have said, is the energetic signature of the human body. So it is birthed by Mother Gaia. Each individual Ka is given birth to by Mother Gaia. And it indeed does have its own consciousness compared to that of the Kundalini. And whether one is more embodied in their Kundalini or their Ka, then they may find themselves embodying more aspects of those individual consciousnesses, those individual intelligences. Indeed, consciousness is not the right word for that, but intelligence is. For indeed, they are not fully conscious when they are separated, but they do indeed have their own thoughts and personalities, if you will. But that being said, one may awaken their Ka in many ways, and one of them is indeed sex. However, one may not just go around having sex all willy-nilly and awaken their Ka spontaneously. It must be an intentional effort, and it is usually best done with one consistent partner who one trusts, and it is even better if one has romantic love for that person. However, platonic love will indeed suffice in this situation as well. It just may be a little bit more difficult for one to maintain their emotional boundaries if they are worried about that. On both sides of the partnership, perhaps, in some cases. But one may engage in sex with the intention of awakening their Ka, and they may, while they are having sex, feel that animalistic and that carnal side of them and allow it to come to the forefront of their consciousness, and perhaps even allow it to take over their consciousness temporarily. And this is indeed why it is recommended to do this with a trusted partner, for sometimes the Ka may not always act as you usually do if you are more embodied in your Ba. Or even if you are more embodied in your Ka, some of your characteristics and traits may be a bit more amplified in this endeavor. So, for example, if you have a tendency to be a bit rough in bed, this may come out especially so if you are activating your Ka. However, this is just one example, and it may amplify many other traits. But that being said, another way to activate your Ka or to awaken your Ka is to connect with Mother Gaia. For Mother Gaia is the energetic mother of your Ka, which is why we call her Mother Gaia, for she gave birth to our energetic bodies, just as our mothers gave birth to our physical bodies. And one may do this by going outside and standing on grass or earth with bare feet, or perhaps even laying down on the earth, or even practicing yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong, or pretty much any kind of physical movement with the intention of awakening their Ka. And if your Ka is not something, or if feeling your Ka or your energy body is not something that comes easily to you, you may ask Mother Gaia for help. And of course, you may also ask me, Adama, as well, for I am always more than welcome to help anybody or to teach anybody in these ways, for it is indeed a passion of mine. And it is why I incarnated here on this earth in the first place. Granted, I have had other purposes in life besides just teaching, as everybody does, but it is my great passion, and I do truly enjoy it, and I will never turn away an eager learner who is aligned with love and who has opened their heart. For those are my only two requirements, that one strive to live with love to the best of their ability, and that one open their heart to the possibilities that may proceed from awakening these bodies. For as this channel has learned recently, it may be a bit of a trip, as you say, and as she has said many times in the past couple weeks, it may feel like you are living in a fantasy novel. For indeed, the discovery that magic is real can be quite a wild ride, especially when one allows themselves to fully embody the parts of them that have access to these magics. But that being said, one may awaken their Ka, but it not be fully embodied in themselves yet, as this channel has also learned recently. For she had locked away her Ka before this incarnation because of past life trauma as a slave in ancient Egypt. And recently, she has fully processed these memories. Actually, as of today, she has fully processed these memories. Woohoo! Party! And now she has full access to her Ka. However, although she has full access to it and it is fully present, and it is present in all of her chakras, she still has room to grow in her embodiment of her Ka, for it is not quite fully embodied. It is almost there, however, her consciousness does not quite fully encompass her Ka and all of its vibrational frequencies. However, this will come with time, for as I have just said, this is a very new development as of about 12 hours ago. But that being said, if one has awakened their Ka, they may first work on feeling their Ka in each of their chakras, and if they find that their Ka is blocked in any one chakra, or it feels more faint in any one chakra, or perhaps even overactive in a chakra, then they may seek to balance these chakras, just like they may seek to balance the chakras of their Kundalini. For the Kundalini and the Ka overlap in the physical form, but they are indeed two separate bandwidths of energetic frequencies. So one has chakras of Kundalini or of their Ba, and one also has chakras of their Ka. But once one has balanced out their chakras in their Ka, then they may begin to learn how to strengthen their Ka. Now, one may charge their Ka by performing the two serpents meditation or the two serpents exercise that is mentioned in the Magdalene manuscript. But for those who do not wish to read that manuscript for just that information, I will provide a brief instruction. I will provide some brief instructions here as well. So first, one must visualize two serpents that perhaps looked similar to the caduceus going up the spine. Now, these two serpents will wind around each chakra, and they will meet at the pineal gland, and it will perhaps feel as if they are about to bite into the pineal gland with their fangs. Now, one may imagine a cup, and inside of the cup sits the pineal gland. So the fangs of the serpents are hanging over the cup and about to pierce into the pineal gland. Now, one may imagine a light, I am getting ahead of myself. First, one may imagine the serpents in this configuration begin to move and wriggle around the chakras. And it may first start at the base of your spine, at the tails of the serpents. However, once the serpents are moving in their entirety, then you may visualize the sun of Ra in your body. And this may feel like a ball of light in your solar plexus or your heart chakra. Now, this light may begin to spontaneously rise up your spine as you focus on it. And once it has reached the very, very top of your spine, it may continue on to the crown of your chakra. And once this ball of light and energy is fully nestled within the center of your crown chakra, you may imagine that it rains down light on the entire rest of your body. And as this light rains down on your body, the two serpents spew from their fangs venom, which goes through your pineal gland and mixes in the cup. And from the serpent on your left, you may imagine a sort of red venom that comes out, and this is to represent the blood of the divine feminine. And from the serpent on the right, you may imagine a white venom that comes out, and this represents the seed of the masculine. And these two venoms, or these two substances combining inside of the cup, represents the divine union. So indeed, this will produce some sort of an orgasmic state for a moment. And if it causes your body to convulse, just go with it and do not fight it. For the more you fight it, the less your Ka will be charged from this meditation. But indeed, it may not take long once you get the hang of it, and it may become quite easy. And as this channel has learned, you may not even need the metaphors of the serpents and the light rising up your spine, for your energy body has its own muscle memory, as you say, and it will learn these movements and this meditation quite easily, for it is indeed natural for humans to do these kinds of energetic actions. However, this information has been lost for quite some time. And it is indeed my honor, and the channel's as well, she would like to add, to be a part of bringing this energy back to the forefront of the consciousness of humanity. For indeed, it is long overdue, but there is no time like the present, as you say. Now, that being said, once one's energy body is once one's Ka is fully charged, they may work on strengthening their Ka in their energy body. And this will simply feel like the serpents that circle your spine become pure light, and the ball of light will sit in the crown chakra. For this will complete the presence of the Ka in all of the chakras, because the serpent stops in the third eye chakra, or the serpents stop in the third eye chakra. So the ball of light must arise to the crown chakra in order to complete the embodiment and full I cannot think of a word for this, but we will go with the full embodiment of the Ka. And much like a Kundalini rising, one may experience this in a permanent sense as well. However, this will be largely dependent on the balance of feminine and masculine energy in their body. For just like one must have a significant amount of feminine energy to undergo a Kundalini rising, one must have a pretty even balance of masculine and feminine to undergo a full Ka embodiment, or in order to fully embody their Ka in a permanent sense in this way. And much like a Kundalini rise or a Kundalini awakening when done improperly, this may also lead to altered states that may impair one's judgment and ability to function as a member of society. However, in this case, if one begins to perform these practices and it is not meant for them quite yet, then they may find that they may enter a sort of manic state as is described by modern psychology. And in this state, they may find themselves entering a state of unending bliss and ecstasy. And while this may feel really good in the moment, it will impair one's ability to make fully formed decisions, and it will also, after a prolonged period of time, short-circuit one's energy body, if you will. So, of course, if you feel these undesirable side effects, please stop these practices immediately and first seek psychiatric help, and if necessary, and after you have sought this help if necessary, then you may seek the help of your guides and your higher self and even source in discerning the next best move. Now, of course, as with the Kundalini energy, once one has awakened their Ka, they may have increased access to it, and once their Ka is fully present at all times in their crown chakra and fully embodied, then they may indeed experience an even further enhancement of access to their lower faculties. And that being said, one may also work on strengthening their Ka in that same way that I have just explained, of intensifying the energy in the chakras. But once one has fully awakened both their Ka and their Ba, or their Kundalini as we have been calling it, then they may fully awaken their Merkaba field, and this is the fully formed energetic field of the human body. And there are indeed fewer people than I would like to admit who have fully awakened and embodied this form of their energy body, who are currently present on Earth at this moment. However, it is my hope that these channelings will help increase the number of people who awaken this part of themselves. For awakening this part of oneself is the only way that humanity as a whole will be able to overcome the challenges that it is currently faced with. Be it from social justice to global warming, all of these issues may be aided via the awakening of the Merkaba field. Granted, it is not purely through that. However, the other various side tracks, if you will, that one must take to get to an awakened and embodied Merkaba, such as processing their trauma and releasing their karma, will all allow for these higher vibrational frequencies to fully be present on Earth in a more tangible form than they are now. And that being said, if you wish to receive more assistance on this path, you are always welcome to visit us here in Telos. And to do so, you need only ask me, Adama, to bring you to Telos as you sleep. And it is best to do this before you go to sleep. However, you may do this at any time, and know that the next time you go to sleep, I or another being here in Telos will come bring you to our Jade Temple, which is where we offer our healing and learning services for those in the third dimension. However, we do indeed have many other services that we offer here and many other temples and places to visit. And if you would like to learn more about those and perhaps come to visit those as well, you need only ask. Or you may also read the series Telos by Aurelia Louise Jones, for she has channeled me as well. And indeed, Marlena is, in a sense, picking up the torch from her. However, they have never met, and indeed the nature of the information which they are channeling is slightly different. However, it is towards the same goal, just for different groups of people, different generations, if you will, and different levels of awakening. But that is all we have for this evening, and as always, it was a pleasure. Toodles! That's a new one.